Hey, want to welcome you all to the latest podcast on the Denny Artachi Show. I've got a great guest here, Alex Rodriguez. We're getting to be pretty good friends, and this guy, he's going to talk about different aspects about the real estate market, which, man, this thing, it's been very hot, hasn't it?
Yeah, on fire. Market's on fire.
Do you see it slowing down?
No, well, in the commercial sector, we'll be a good 3 to 5 years on a continual bull run.
Yeah.
Residential might soften up, next 24 months. But supply demand is one factor, but then big growth is what really fuels the commercial side, which is what we're in.
Well, before we get into that, I think, look, the other thing about you is you are a highly motivated guy. You came over here, your family, humble beginnings, folks. Your family's from Cuba, right?
Yeah.
So you came here, what, at 21, I think?
Yeah, so my grandfather left Cuba in 58.
Okay.
He left an empire there, had a hospital in Havana, and basically the $5 story of coming with nothing and starting from scratch, no English, and building an empire is what he did, to make a very long story short.
Okay.
But we learned kind of from the old school way of doing business where, if you have a strong work ethic, you can do whatever you want, and if you keep your word golden, you hustle, you really can get ahead. So at 21 years old, I started my real estate career. I come from a family of doctors, and they.
So, folks, let's be candid. He started by buying houses that were messed up.
Yeah.
You learned how to fix them up.
Yeah.
Then you flipped them.
Yeah.
And that was about 20 years ago, right?
Yeah, I was 21 then. So yeah, it was 20 years.
So, folks, this year, Alex's company will do about $100 million in sales.
Gross sales.
So, hard work does pay off. And I loved the meeting I attended. What was it, last Friday, the Friday before?
Yeah, good.
You sit there and you had all these people, and the first thing you talked about is like, look, you've got to have 4 things every day. Number 1, have a vision. Number 2, have a plan. Number 3, take action. A lot of people miss that part.
Yep.
Yeah, I know everything, but I'm going to sit back on my couch and, it'll come to me. And then it equals success.
Absolutely.
So, did you find the first years were pretty, was a struggle? I mean, how hard was it when you first started doing this?
Good question. And you're giving me chills because it's real stuff.
It is
you know
real
what I mean?
stuff,
There's nothing
man.
scripted.
People want to know the real deal.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You started with nothing.
Yeah.
And look,
So everybody thinks you're crazy until you do it, and then
Yeah.
you're successful, and they're like, "Hey, we always were with you. Where can we do a deal together?" Same thing with me. I was 21 years old, self-funded, not a dollar to get started. I raised money from hard money lenders, Cubans in Miami, 12% interest, 3% upfront. Never done the business before, and so now you're raising money and making sure you let them know that you're going to make money. You've never done it before, so
what
very
happens,
challenging.
What happens if you were late on the payment?
They come to my house. No, it was a very unique situation. They physically came up, looked at the deal. I was
Yeah.
able to do enough homework to, get started and understand the value for them to make money. And then obviously, even though I'm paying 12%, if you buy a deal good enough, that's where you make your money in real estate. Buying right is what allows you to do well. So told my pops, look, I don't want to be a doctor. 13 years of medical school, 350 to 400 grand in student loans, and then have an insurance company tell you what you can make. It's like not a good business decision. So stuck with it, and the first house was 13 dogs, 2 cats. Ugly, ugly, ugly house. A real ugly house.
Folks, Alex does all right. He's a humble guy, but trust me, he does all right. He's not hurting for money, but he wakes up every day pushing the envelope. Your wife has her own business as well.
Yeah.
So she does her thing as well and helps you with the business. Sweetheart of a lady. You guys have a great family, and I love that. So let's talk about real estate. One of the things that we're partnering up with is a lot of people want to sell, but they don't want to pay the taxes on the commercial real estate properties.
Correct.
So, we're through our partnership, we find them 1031 exchanges.
Absolutely.
Or opportunity zones.
Yep.
Now, the thing that's interesting about what you do, what is that saying, right? They always think it can't be done until it's done, right?
That's right.
So, yep. I've had realtors call me for my properties, and they always say, let me list it. And I say, no, if you have a buyer and wants to give me X amount, then I'll sell it. And they walk away. They leave money on the table. You don't do that.
No way.
You have clients because, look, I'm not bashing realtors. They're trying to make a living like everybody else.
Sure.
but I think it's the path of least resistance by just having a bunch of listings. You promise the world to the clients, and then you go into the witness protection program until it's sold.
Yeah.
You, on the other hand, say, hey, you know what? We won't list it, and we'll do a private deal. Now, when you do that, you can charge more than 6% because
Absolutely.
you're bringing value to the table.
Absolutely.
So that's why, is that what motivated you to start that?
100%. So the value we bring to a deal
Yeah.
is the full package. So every firm is a little different. What we do is we bring to our client,
Yeah.
what's your exit? What are you going to do with this money? Have you thought of that first? And we start asking questions to really understand the seller's position.
Right.
That allows you to bring more value, because then I can say, listen, I have a guy, like Denny, that can help you with the tax side of this. We've got really good attorneys. We've got good land developed guys. And so by putting the package together, we're an all-in-one, and then we command our fee based on the value we bring. So the 6% is no longer part of the equation, because if we're telling a seller, hey,
Right.
you want $1.2 million, I'll get you your $1.2 million. We'll put fee on top of it, but we're bringing the whole package for you to make sure that we're taking care of the client. If you do that sincerely, you make much more money, and you've really done the good by the client.
And there's no law against it.
That's right.
But if you list it, now you have to cap it at the 6%.
Yeah, if you list it, it's specified on your agreement with the
That
seller.
it's 6, right.
We do fee agreements that are specifying what we'll do above their net sales price, and that's fair and square. It's something that it works, and it allows us to make as much money as we can while making the client as much money. So it's a very fair situation.
I think that's great, because I think you told me that you produced quickly, and then when they saw what you were making, they were like, wait a minute, I want more. And then you're like, well, wait a minute, I got you what you wanted.
Yeah.
Why should I make more? I gave you the value.
Right.
Because
Exactly.
it took you a while to build that client base of buyers.
Absolutely.
You didn't get it overnight.
17 years in the commercial world.
So the name of your company is
RT Commercial Real Estate.
Okay.
Out of Port St. Lucie.
What's the phone number there?
The office number is 772-333-2338.
Okay. Do you have a website as well?
Actually, 2358 is the office line. Website is rt-cre.com. And we're in Port St. Lucie now. Been in the business for the last 17 years in the commercial space.
Nice.
Before my firm, I was with another firm. And we buy, but we also develop property. We buy property in the commercial world. So we're, the clients we have, we relate to on a level that we're also doing business with. And we also own that space in certain areas. So we have a good commonality.
Now, I also love your office. Man, you're like the Starbucks of real estate, right?
Yeah.
You walk in, the decor is beautiful.
Thank you. That's wifey.
You've got music playing in the background. It's like, oh, wow, hey, I want to buy something. I don't know what it is. But your office and your staff, I think that's very important. It really is.
I agree.
Because
100%.
as soon as they come in, they're already in a certain mood. You have the
Yeah.
music playing. I like your furniture, your setup. Your wife, she gets credit for this?
Yeah, she decorated
Okay.
everything, and she's the
So,
best.
Yes, and she's highly motivated as well.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I think that's very important. So that's on the commercial side. What about, do you do private deals on a residential as well?
Residential, if we're packaging multiple deals, like a portfolio of deals,
Yeah.
we will. We're launching my construction division this year. So I've had my CBC license since 2005. We're running RT Construction this year. Just have the right people, and finally we can capture the business on the commercial side. But also we're going to tap into some residential in the form of townhome development type projects. And so we will do some residential in that space.
Oh, so you'll start a project from spec or scratch
Yeah.
and build it,
Yes.
and then find the buyers after that.
Correct.
And
And
you'll
then-
fund it yourself, or are you
Yeah,
looking?
we'll fund and we'll syndicate. So we'll bring in other partners that, let's say, they don't want to take on a complete project, but they want to put equity in and have shared equity on the exit. So when we sell out, they could have a nice return at the end. If they want to stay in the deal and we retain any units, they can also, keep that positive cash flow and appreciation. So we're just building strategic relationships and partnerships so
Okay.
that we can keep growing from all avenues.
Constantly expanding. So,
Yeah.
so I guess, you probably don't do many individual residential homes because you're putting packages together for the most part.
Yeah.
Any advice for people who are maybe thinking about selling? Because here's the thing: I thought about selling. I had many offers, but then what am I going to do? I'm going to move into an area and pay more for a house that is not in the same area as mine. What would you say to people that say, "Wow, it's so hot. Let me take advantage of it and sell. Do you think it's a good idea or not?
It's tough because selling high and then buying
Right,
high. That's the
right.
challenge. If you're fortunate where you, let's say, have land that you're going to go ahead, you bought right and you're going to build your house. I would say that build your house and now you've already secured your next location, cash out on that. And if you've homesteaded the property, obviously that's a good
Yes.
tax benefit. Tax-free money is always what we want. And
Right.
Denny, you can help everybody with that part,
Absolutely.
100%. So with that said, if you're going to sell in a high market, the strategy would be to figure out to either leverage that profit into multiple deals so that maybe you can leverage up, or if you have to maybe strategically refi it, maybe that's another play. But selling high, buying high is a tough one. So I'd always say it's based on the individual situation.
Well, here's the other thing. Clients ask me all the time because I'm a true fiduciary. I'm a holist. I use a holistic approach. When they ask me about real estate and things, I say real estate is great if you know what you're doing, because think about it. You can make 10 to 15% a year buying the right properties. And I've got to tell you, contrary to what the last 2 years have shown in the market, that's kind of hard to do in the stock market on a consistent level.
It's true.
Now, there's different forms of risk, right?
Sure.
On a commercial property, you better buy right? But it's so funny. You at your meeting, you were talking about buying ugly ducklings.
Yeah.
They
Oh, yeah.
yield more
My
money.
favorite. Yeah.
That is the
Oh,
favorite,
yeah.
right? Because people think, oh, I want to buy this shopping center because it's shiny and it looks great and my friends will love it. But they may only make 4 or 5% return, where what you call an ugly duckling may give them 10 to 12% because the tenants are there, and as they fix it up, they'll be able to sell it for more money.
Exactly. So real quick, live kind of example, real
Yeah.
life stuff. So what I talk about is real stuff that we
Absolutely.
do. I have a client of mine, husband and wife, physician, retired doctor, and they had a medical building in my area, Port St. Lucie.
Okay.
Sold it by the hospital. It was right around 800 grand. And now it's time to go shop 1031 money to another building. Well, they have owned that building for 7-8 years. So that's what they know and what they like. So what do you want to buy? They said, we want to go to Stewart and have a shiny office building as well. I said, you realize that's about a 5% return, shiny building, much more expensive. I said, look, go do your thing. Take a look at the market. When you're done, call me and I'll show you an ugly duckling that you're going to think you don't want to even get out of the car anymore. Wifey's going to stay in the car and say, forget it, let's go home. Right? So they went, took a look, looked at the ugly duckling, or the beautiful shiny building, 5% return in Stewart. And they're like, Alex, these are so expensive. What happened? I said, the market changed. You're fighting now in an area where low returns, shiny building. Let's find the shiny deal. And so at that point, I was able to take them to an area in Port St. Lucie, ugly Biltmore property, a warehouse that needed a lot of work, but it had upside. The tenants were there a long time, never been raised on the rents. There was some deferred maintenance. Long story short, to this day, if we sat them here, they will hug you and me, probably give us both a kiss.
Yeah.
Because they're so happy that I was able to guide them, because they got 8% on that deal. The building's already worth another 300-400 grand of equity for them since they bought it with me. And so now they're hunting for the ugly ducklings, because the beauty of the deal, not the shiny outside of the,
Right.
the way it looks at a low return.
So I'm curious. Not that, and it's not really taking money away from me as a retirement planner, because I mostly do equities, different things like that. But what if somebody said, I just don't like the market. I'd like to try and get either commercial real estate. What would they need as a minimum to maybe get into it? Or could they finance it and make it work?
Good question. So a couple things. Let's say someone isn't working with much capital, but they have a ton of equity in their house.
Okay.
Money's
In their
cheap.
residential house.
Right, correct.
Okay.
There's a lot of people sitting on equity. That money's sitting in their walls, and that could be 100 grand that's sitting there that they don't have, and they're working every day. Explore the bank to do a cash out refi. If you really want to be serious, get into the business, you don't have any money. That's free money. Not free money, but
Right. You're paying,
interest rates are low enough
Right.
that even under 4%, that's a pretty good amount of chunk to have to work with at 4% to then
But what
go
could
make
a
yourself
person get into for like a couple $100,000?
100K, it's things are becoming more expensive across the board.
Yes, exactly.
So in a deal that
And
someone
this
has,
is Florida, folks.
Oh, yeah.
But maybe in the Midwest or other parts. Ohio, you can still buy a house for like $60,000-$70,000.
yeah,
But commercial and other things are going to be less expensive too. But speaking in Florida,
yeah.
what could they what could they do with maybe a couple 100,000, like you say?
So I'd recommend looking into, you could do some industrial condos. Start there. Those range anywhere from 300K. There's some in my market in that range. Getting financed pretty easy, especially with 100 grand down. You'll get favorable terms as long as the person's credit's decent. They could start there and at least get their foot wet, get
Right.
in the door, capture some cash flow, understand the mechanics from a tenant and how deal
But they
with
would
the
buy
space.
something that already has tenants, obviously.
I like buying deals that don't have a tenant or have a tenant that's been there on a month to month for many years, because that's where we discover more value. So if somebody's been in that unit for 10 years and they're on the 10-year rate many years ago,
Oh, I see.
we can buy that now and bring it to now rates, which creates more cash flow. So even though they're paying, let's say, 200-300K for the unit, and they have a low performing tenant in terms of the rent, they could increase that. They won't hurt the tenant, but the tenant will make a decision, hey, do I stay or do I want to move? And if they don't move, we have tenants that we would place there that'll pay, now market rents. So they've just now created more value on a space that is underperforming on a lower scale.
But now they've got to manage and be a landlord, which not everybody wants to do that.
That's true. It's not all roses, but it just
Right.
depends.
Unless they're buying pieces of land and so really your niche is the commercial market.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Doing this now, like I said, last 17 years, I started buying and selling ugly houses, land, tax deed properties,
Okay.
pre-foreclosure stuff, and then transitioned from there to a friend of mine in his commercial firm many years ago. And we took down a lot of deals, grew from there, opened my firm, and now expanding more into development, acquiring more deals, and then just doing bigger deals. Like now we're focusing on things north of 20 million. The biggest deal we're working on is 45 million up north in Osceola County, and we're all over Florida. So the private stuff is the exciting stuff.
Listen, folks, if you're interested, I recommend you call Alex's office line. What is the number again?
Yeah, that's 772-333-2358, and it's RT Commercial Real Estate out of Port St. Lucie, Florida.
Now, it's interesting because you have private deals, but on the other side, I have institutional deals for people because a lot of times finding the exact amount in a 1031 can be challenging.
Yeah.
So if you're short a few 100,000 or a mil or whatever it is, then that's where my teams and my relationships come in, where they could invest in an institutionally managed, maybe an Amazon shopping center or a high-end rental in South Carolina or storefront in New York City. There's all kinds of ways, but I really love that you're focusing on Florida. You know it well.
Yeah.
You basically covering Martin, St. Lucie County.
Yeah.
Like those two counties alone keep you busy.
Oh, yeah, especially St. Lucie. Fort Pierce is our strongest market, and it's where the highest amount of growth is.
It's funny because Fort Pierce gets a bad rap. I remember when I was in the service, God, we're speaking way back, man. I'm a lot older than you, okay?
No.
And I'm watching, this was like 1985, I believe. I was still in basic, and they had a special in Fort Pierce. It was about crack cocaine, right? Oh, it's out of control in the country, and in Fort Pierce, it's booming. Boom. So I think, unfortunately, they still remember. But Fort Pierce downtown is beautiful.
Yeah,
it is so much like there's a lot of commercial fishermen. The waterways in Fort Pierce are amazing.
Yeah. Emerald,
but
blue,
you would
green.
never think about it, right? So
Yeah.
this is what I mean by. But how did you get all these? And if people want to call into your office from everywhere, because this is gonna be out in the world. So we're gonna be on Spotify, Apple, Pandora, iHeart, and I forget all of them, but they'll be able to call if they're interested in the commercial things that you do.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't have to be in your hometown. Someone could be living in another state and they want to take advantage of your niche that you find in this area.
Yeah, absolutely. Anywhere in the state of Florida, we typically do deals.
It's so funny because, unfortunately, a lot of people like to limit. They go, well, I want to be able to reach out and touch it. That limits you.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, for my money, I want to know that it's institutionally managed. I get my mailbox money. I can defer the taxes. And I'm not in charge of anything except receiving the funds from time to time.
Cash flow.
So if you're interested, I would call in on the commercial side. So you think commercially we're still going to have another run for 5? It doesn't matter that the Ukraine situation or, interest rates, we're going to have a few hikes.
Correct.
But still, historically speaking, they're giving money away.
Yeah.
Anytime you could get something for less than 6% historically
Yep.
is unbelievable.
Or 19% like in the 90s.
Yeah, you remember that, huh? But that's the commercial. What about residential? That's a tricky space because, again, if you're going to sell, where are you going to move to if you're going to take the equity in your house?
Yeah. So the affordable housing sector is one of the hottest sectors right now that
Really?
I'm seeing. And there's a little transition happening from there, meaning there's a huge demand for affordable housing.
Okay.
There's a tiny home space that's actually starting to pop up. Kind of a unique situation where it's like the affordable housing is starting to become additionally affordable by creating these smaller tiny house communities.
Really?
There's one actually in progress going up in our market they're going to explore with. But what's happening is by the prices continually increasing as quickly as they are, some of the people that are, let's say, under $500,000 of purchase power, they're being affected because they can't really afford that increased price. So what do you do with those people? And there's other people
Well, that
paying.
brings me to another question. It's not still crazy where, what do they call that when you have a certain price and then people are bidding up on it?
Above ask. Yeah, they're buying
No, there was a
above
certain
ask.
term but is that still going on?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Really?
Above ask, 20K above ask.
We're not commercial. I'm talking about residential.
Yeah, it's happening
So
every day.
it's still happening.
Yep.
Okay.
It's crazy, but it's happening.
I told this realtor a stupid price of my home, and she came back in 3 hours and went, okay. And I went, no, I'm kidding. I mean, I was only kidding. She goes, what do you mean? Do you want to sell it or not?
Yeah.
I go, no.
Yeah.
I just threw it out there.
Yeah.
So it's still happening.
A client called me yesterday. I swear to you, this guy, super nice guy. He owns a building where I own one of my buildings in Port St. Lucie, Village Green Drive. He's like, Alex, listen, it's been a while. Is it now time? Because he's always wanted a crazy number.
Okay.
I told him, I said, Harry, your crazy number is finally real. Are you ready? He's like, let's go. He's excited.
Really?
Because he always was priced so high that
Okay.
it was not a reasonable. And we won't do deals with clients. We're different, meaning we're in the selling business, not the listing business. If I'm listing your property and we're sitting with the sign and telling you everything you want to hear,
Right.
It does you no good to make money. It does us no good because our time is our most valuable asset. So we take on deals that we know we can sell.
Yeah, I
we
like
tell the
that.
owner the truth. Be
Yeah.
straightforward. If you feel it's worth $10 million, that's great for you, but it'll sell at $5 million. If we can come to term there, I'll get it sold for you. But we're just honest. We take a different approach.
I really love the honesty that you have because, you told me about a couple of commercial deals that came up that they had a certain number and you said, I would love to give it to you, but it's not going to happen. Here's where we are. So you didn't bother listing it.
Nope. We'll leave the
because
door
you're
open.
You're in the moving business, not the storage business.
Absolutely. I love that.
But here's the deal. Unfortunately, a lot of people like to pick from hanging fruit, and they like to do the least amount and make the most amount.
Yeah.
You're the opposite. When we met finally at your office, it was a Friday, and we looked at our, oh my God.
Engaged. It's like 8 o'clock.
It's 8 o'clock. What are we doing? We just met at 4:30.
Yeah.
And we were so engaged in
Yeah.
everything that we were doing.
Loved it.
See, that's the problem. And again, I'm not trying to, there's a lot of realtors who work hard, but if they approached it like you, I think they would make more sales. But they can't unless they have the buyers like you do.
Sure.
It took you a long time to find the buyers.
Yeah. It did.
So that's why you don't list. There's no need to list.
No, it's true. We're here to do deals and get it sold at the right number,
Do they hate you, other realtors?
If we don't have some haters, then maybe we're not doing something right. But it's all good for us. We have good relationships, and we're here to make money. We're here to make our client money and make us money. And we're not playing. Sometimes you'll see where a realtor or someone even in commercial space sometimes will tell the client everything they want to hear.
Okay.
Yes, it's worth $10 million. Yes, it's going to be sold in a month. Yes. Just sign here.
Just sign here.
A year and a half later,
I'm going to go on
it's sitting,
vacation,
right?
and when you sell it, I'm going to be on the beach making my commission. Okay.
So a year later, it's not sold. Nothing's happening.
Yeah,
and they're like, "What's going on, guy?"
That part never made sense to me. I've owned a few homes, and believe me, I'm not savvy in real estate at all. But that part always bothered me. People want to just listen. No, I don't want. Because the other thing, too, is the whole tire kicking show. Where people come in and they look around and then they ask you stupid questions like, so why are you selling this, Alex? And you're like, none of your business. Do you want to buy it or not? So then you have to be outside of the house because, they ask you silly questions like that. But serious buyers, they don't like to dilly-dally. They don't like to kick the can around.
Yeah.
And that I don't know how much further it's going to continue. Now, I know you paint a great picture. You've worked very hard, but tell me about some of the lean times that you had to go through to reinvent yourself. Because I know in the last 20 years,
Sure.
you went through a few.
Yeah, so I can remember I was buying and selling property
Yeah.
and as a kid, and then I held assets. So I had 4 condos at the same time I was holding, and the group didn't care much for me because I was younger and I wasn't gonna, no offense, be old and die in that community. I was buying as an investor and putting tenants, and the group didn't really like that, and so
Okay.
I kept it where I started changing the market because at that point that was when Lehman Brothers, all the stuff crashed.
Oh, in '08.
Yeah, so I had condos that I was
Okay.
renting, they were like 1,100 a month condos, 2 bedroom, 2 bath. The guys from Miami and all over built all these spec homes, if you remember, and those spec homes are now competing against my 2 bedroom condos for the same. They dropped the
Yeah,
rent.
listen, 1,000 a month 14 years ago was high rent.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know.
And so now, what do I do? These guys with these brand new 3.2 spec homes, they'll charge $800 just put a body in to cover their debt service because they built so many so fast. Well, what happens with my 1 bedroom, my 2 bedroom, 2 bath units? I recreated that market to be able to compete by changing all of those into rent-to-own lease options.
Okay.
So I told my tenants, listen. You put in a deposit that's non-refundable. I'm going to give you credit towards your rent. You have the option to buy it within 3 to 5 years, but now you're taking an ownership position. That was killer. And whoever's doing new residential, do that. You'll never want to be a landlord, and you have no phone calls because you've changed the roles to put it on the tenant. It's a tenant buyer. So now if they fix the property up, it's at their expense. It stays with the property. And when they cash you out.
I've heard of that. They call rent with an option to buy.
Yes.
Right? That's
Yes.
the same thing.
Lease option, rent to own. And so by doing that, I preserved all 4 units and I didn't take a hit. But after that, going further into it, even the people that were in that those units couldn't afford it. They had to go. And so then that was when you call it the gray, down times.
Sure.
What I did was I pivoted into corporate America. I did Medicare Advantage in the salary plus commission. Hated it.
Oh, you sold that, really?
Yeah, I did. I was doing that
because your business was at a standstill.
my passion is real estate,
Yeah.
and so I was doing what I had to do to take care of the family.
Right.
I hated it, but I did what I had to do, and then by doing that, in our family, we're kind of overachievers. Raised to number one sales in that space. Was able to get all kinds of awards and things, and that was cool. But it wasn't my passion. If you do what you love, it's not work when you go. Like we were talking and joking and all that. It was because I loved it. I didn't even look at the 8 o'clock.
Right,
it was
it's
just,
true.
It's like ice cream. It's like good stuff,
I leave here sometimes around 8 o'clock too because, I think of certain things. When you're an entrepreneur, when you work for yourself, people think they would love that until they realize the hours you put in.
Yeah.
I mean, truly, because you have to always be creatively thinking, what could I do to expand my business? What could I do to build more relationships? What could I do to help more people and give back to the community, therefore marketing myself so people know who the hell I am, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So that's part of like what I do too with the podcasting. I'm with that 501c now. I think I told you, where I'm doing educational workshops, and that's like you work half days, 12-hour days,
Yeah,
right?
basically.
And a lot of weekends.
Yeah. We're, something in the very beginning, I did a lot of weekends.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, in all honesty now, I grind Monday through Friday, full
Good.
speed ahead, 500 miles an hour. And then
off
Saturday
on
and Sunday, I spend with the family.
That's great.
It just allows you to balance and take a moment. I've learned from my mentors, if you go and don't stop and at least smell the roses and spend time with your family, the girls and your little ones will be off to college before you know it. So
Well, I have a feeling that not that it would happen, but if you lost everything, you could start over, man.
yeah,
Because that's how it is. Once you figure out how to be successful, make money, and understand what it takes,
sure.
you'll always be able to do it. And I get that from you. And when I sat at the meeting, I loved that the first 10 minutes, you were coaching your team on people skills, not just sales skills,
Yeah.
life skills,
Mindset and motivation.
real life situations. And I told you, Alex, I want to come here once a month to pump myself up.
We get
and
that a lot.
I don't even sell real estate. Because I also was talking about Coach Peterson from the Eagles, that he was at the Christ Fellowship Church, and he was talking about a few things that people should do as well. One was create your own energy, right?
Okay.
I'm having a senior moment.
All good. Creating energy.
Create your own energy. Do away with distractions, number 2. Because that's the thing. When you're focused on your own business, you have to not watch TV, go to bars and drink for 5 hours. You have to stay focused. So get rid of the distractions,
true.
The negative naysayers.
Yeah.
Number 3, he said, have no fear.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, entrepreneurs have no fear.
That's right.
We're sometimes almost too stupid to know reality. And that's a good thing.
It
we
accelerates
don't think
it.
like, oh my God, if I do this, it might not work. And what if I do this? That might not work. And what if I do everything? Nothing will work. Shut up. Put your head down and go. Oh, and the last thing that Coach Peterson said was attack everything.
Yeah.
So you have no fear, create your own energy, get rid of the distractions, have no fear, and attack everything, which is what you do. That meeting you were talking about, you talked about vision, plan, action, success. Everybody there was motivated to do something.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And all you were doing was talking about different properties that came up and how to go about it. And they're networking as well. So you're teaching them not to be a normal, regular realtor. You're teaching them to think outside the box.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's how I never heard of making more than 6% until I sat at your meeting and you said, well, they're private deals. Why should I limit myself? I'm providing an extraordinary service.
Sure.
I'm limited as a fiduciary. I typically manage accounts, they're 1%, up to 1.5%. I don't get the 1.5%. I'm typically between 3/4 to 1%. Everything else is there's no way I could say, hey, Joe, if I make you 40%, I'm going to take 10.
Okay.
Not in my business.
Got it.
So I think it's great because you are providing a value.
Yeah.
You're not listing something. You're not bringing a bunch of tire kickers, and
Yep.
you're not going on the beach sipping Mai Tais,
Yeah.
hoping that someone else sells your deal.
Exactly.
You're
right.
in the moving business.
Oh yeah, and just reiterating, like agreeing with you,
Yeah.
I train my agents within the first 4 seconds of a conversation how to vet a client and understand if they have money to do a deal, if they're going to waste time. Because our time is, I'm serious.
In 4 seconds?
Absolutely. Within 4 seconds of a call, one of my agents, if you call them, they're
Yeah.
going to know this guy can do a deal or this guy's going to waste time.
Well, how do you do that?
Because I've learned over the years
Yeah.
there's similarities on people that are real, that'll do a deal with you, series of questions, things that you
Yes.
come up and you extract from them very quickly, listening to the client, versus one that comes in doing things that they're not ready to go. So I have 3 questions that I normally have my agents ask. Number 1, have you done a deal like this before? Number 2, are you funded? Number 3, when are you ready to go? If they start to, I'm just starting, I have a wish and a dream, in 3-4 months, I might do it when I break my lease here. That's obviously someone that you're not going to
Right.
do business with now. So we just try to make sure our time is used to do deals, because that's the only asset we have at the end of the day. It's like our bank account. So vetting the client, super important,
Okay.
and then providing extraordinary value, more so than other firms, and doing things that are not normal. Like we have a building that a client wants, this was a deal he wanted $1.2 million.
Okay.
Cost per square foot for that building was only worth $800,000 on a good day, all day. That's all it
Okay.
was worth.
All right.
So what do you do with that gap? Now, normally someone would either say, well, it's $1.2 million, just sign here and list it, but they'll never sell the building. What we do differently is we take a look at the whole thing and spend time, energy, and effort to bring more value. We call it the art of alchemy. Turning
Okay.
back in the day, you guys can Google this. It's turning a piece of metal into gold. What doesn't exist, creating that into value, into a sale. How we did that was the rents in there were all under rent. This is a 10,000 square foot building, 1,000 square footer, flex warehouse space in Port St. Lucie. I went in, I told the owner, I said, listen, we've been trying. I've gotten, New Yorkers that come down and my clients that do not want to pay your $1.2 million. I know you want that, but now it's time to change gears. He's like, what do you mean, Alex? He says, I'm taking over the building. I'll be the bad guy. Let me tell every tenant it's time to pay now rents, not what you paid 7 years ago.
Really?
Month to month. Yep. And he knows them on first name basis, so he didn't want to break the news to him. I said, no problem. It's just business. Told all the clients there, the tenants. Out of all of them, 8 of them were okay. 2 of them were like, no, I'm going to go somewhere else. And, everybody's just trying to get rich on our rent. I said, no problem. They called another building, like 4 in the area. It got back to our office. Hey, us again. It's really that rate on this building. So once they figured out, we're being real and honest with them. They're like,
Yeah.
I don't want to move my business. Where do I sign? Increased all the rents. They still were more than fine, could afford it. But we bring that cash flow and that cap rate up to $1.2 million. Got it sold. Owner's happy, made some fees on the
But
leasing.
you brought the value.
Yeah.
See, no, you were thinking outside of the box.
Absolutely.
And that's where
It
you
works.
make more money. Now, the interesting thing, look, the other phenomenon, because of COVID, how many, yes, folks, damn New Yorkers like me, but I moved to Florida so many years ago, I might as well be a Floridian.
6 borough.
Exactly. And you can keep New York. I mean, I love that I'm from there, but it's cold, the taxes are high, and people are grumpy. so they drive down to Florida and they become grumpy. But seriously, because of COVID, our governor never locked us down, and
Yeah.
I know he gets a lot of flack for it. I disagree. He understands business.
Yeah.
It's not like he's a cold-hearted person, but because of his his strategies and philosophy, so many New Yorkers, not just New York, from other states came to Florida.
Oh, yeah.
So isn't that true that in the last 2 years, that's made it explode even more?
Huge. So my the major states that I have an influx to the tune of
Yeah.
it was 1,100 a day coming just from New York to Florida to buy property, not just commercial but residential. So you've got that New Jersey, California,
They
Washington.
were moving here a day.
They're moving here, and then they're
Okay.
buying commercial real estate.
Okay.
And then the larger groups, like Florida, Palm Beach especially, is going to be the new Wall Street as well. All the financial firms that were in New York have now liquidated, and they're moving down here.
Oh, good.
I get a lot of
because
private equity guys.
I live in have an office in Palm Beach
There you
County,
get,
so
get ready. They're already positioning down here, so it's creating huge opportunity. Weather's good, tax situation
Yes.
much better.
no state tax,
No state tax.
no city tax.
The cost of living is great in terms of what
We
you're
still have
getting.
lunatics who drive
We
on
do.
the road. We can't fix that. In fact, the CDC called, folks. You don't have to keep coming to Florida. It's safe to stay where you are. COVID restrictions have been lightened up here. But no, it's true. Florida is an amazing. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else.
No,
Now,
me
maybe
neither.
I would like to have, I don't know, a part-time place in Manhattan or maybe somewhere in California, but just to visit.
Sure.
Like maybe a few weeks out of the year.
Yeah.
Florida's great. I mean, think about it. People spend all this money to go on vacation, and we have beaches, parks, so much. I mean, in Central Florida, Northern Florida, you can go camping. And yes, if you can stomach hurricanes from time to time, there's no other place like it.
Yeah, no, it's
And
great.
what's interesting is different parts of Florida, you think you're in a different state. The further north you go, the more country, so to speak,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah,
And
it does.
obviously, the southern part, you have us damn New Yorkers taking up space, complaining about everything. I'm just kidding, folks. I make fun of everybody, especially if you're a fellow New Yorker like me. But it hasn't slowed down.
Yeah.
It hasn't. It's still coming. And
It is.
so that's why you think you still got a 5.5 year run on the commercial side.
Yeah, we're solid 3 to 5 years in the
But on
commercial
a
sector.
residential, I mean, how much more is this bidding up stuff going to keep,
So, I mean, nobody has crystal ball, but just historically, when you're in the biz and you learn
Yeah.
how things go up, how they relate to the market, what you got to think about is the amount of people moving down. They're eating up all the inventory.
Yes.
So prior to COVID, we had a surplus of inventory. Prices were actually supposed to drop. When COVID hit, all the people said, all right, we're out of these states.
Right.
We're moving to
We're
Florida.
going to Florida.
So not only did they buy up all the inventory, they created a demand that was just like through the roof. So now the national builders are like, all right, it's time to open the faucet and start building in massive droves. So I get contacted almost every other day from national builders. One is, I won't name names, but they usually want 200 units and above on the land that they purchase. So I said it before, I'll say it on record. This year we'll close more large land tracts that will get us to that 100 million this year than there's ever been sold on any past year.
so that's
I give
going to
it
be your
15
sweet
years.
spot, the land
Yes,
deals.
the large land plays we're going to sell more of than we've ever sold. And that's going
Is
to
it
bring me
because
to
they
the-
have higher potential? Say, hey, if I own the land, I can build whatever I want there.
Well-
depending on how it's zoned.
Yeah, so the zoning, super important on the zoning. It's because of the demand of housing, the demand of additional infrastructure to support the bigger groups like Amazon coming into our market. The Wave Garden, that's a $500 million
Didn't
project.
you say Amazon was going to build in Fort Pierce?
There, right on Midway Road, Fort Pierce, next to the Wave Garden, which is a $500 million project. It's like Disney World coming in. So when that comes into a market, what happens is there's a trickle effect that just spikes that whole area. So these builders know that, and they're setting up shop for everybody that's going to support that in terms of jobs, growth, restaurants, etc.
Dude, you're such a visionary. I mean,
I'm excited because you see it, and
Yeah.
I've only learned from my mentors and applied it and tweaked it over the years, and it's
Don't
exciting.
make me flip professions, man.
Nah, man, you're welcome. You're welcome on board anytime, man. Your energy is contagious in a good way
Well,
too,
you know
man.
what? I certainly will refer people to you because that's the thing, and I'm so happy to have you here on the podcast. Because
Great to be here.
I have different guests for different reasons, and real estate is something. Look, isn't it true that most of the richest people out there got it from real estate?
Yeah.
You know, yeah, there was those who made their own tech companies and they're from Silicon Valley, but for the last 100 years, a lot of people have made their fortunes on buying and selling real estate, mostly commercial, not too much residential.
Sure.
I mean, there are some sweet spots, but and so, folks, if you're interested, I would say give Alex a call. He's got a great team. Just know that he's not going to kick tires.
Yeah, no, we don't play around.
Or list something. He's in the moving business, not the storage business, and I think that's great. You know, hearing you're part of the minority because not many realtors are doing this.
Yeah, it's true.
Because they can't. If you don't have the buyers, how can you do that?
Right.
You can't. So if you're out there looking to sell your residential home, you might want to think about it before you list it but they can also maybe do a selling agreement for 45 days and see if that works out, right?
Sure. Yeah. So the marketing agreements we do are no more than 6 months when we do a marketing agreement.
Okay.
And what I tell,
I'm surprised you go that long.
It's funny that I have clients that are like, all right, where's the 1 year agreement with the extension, automatic 1 year extension?
This is on the commercial or the...
So there's residential folks out there, no offense, residential folks, where there's a 1 year agreement where it's locked up and then a 1 year auto renew after that. So when a client asks, how long is your agreement for? Is it 1 year? I said, no, it's 6 months. We're either going to sell that thing in 6 months or we don't have business listing it. And then we take a different approach where we sometimes won't even do that. We do a fee agreement and just get to work.
See, I'm not as crazy as I think I am because the last properties that I was involved in, I did it like that.
Yeah.
I said, listen,
It's fair.
I'm not interested in this locking up stuff.
No.
And, it's interesting because a lot of what I do, clients, I ask a lot of questions too, and it's not really that I think I'm going to be wasting time. I want to get to the chase with clients, and it's true. If they have no idea what they want or where they're going, chances are they're not going to be able to make a decision to better themselves. Never mind me or my commissions. It's not about that.
Correct.
So then I try and educate them as much as I can, so that they could maybe get more motivated to take action. There's a lot of people in the retirement, they want to wait 6 months before they're going to retire, before they plan, and that never made any sense to me. But it happens. So I try and ask as many questions as I can to get to the chase, because if they're not broken, I don't want to fix them. I would say 90%, I was asked this recently, 90% of my clients became clients at the first meeting.
Awesome.
It's a weird thing that happens that way because we just we meet for 15 minutes and it turns into an hour and a half, and we're like, oh my God, I can't believe. But all we were doing was asking each other many questions.
Sure. Yeah.
And I answered them, and we stressed upon the fact that they're serious about what they want to do. And I got that from our conversation. So that's why it was longer than 15 minutes.
Sure. Got it.
If they sat there and go, hey, I just want a couple of questions about investing and I want you to, I said, great, sure, let's talk about that. And then we're off and we're done. But if someone comes to me and says, hey, I have a problem, or I'm really concerned about retiring, and let me tell you what I'm concerned about, then the conversation starts. And then I impress upon them that I try and be like Henry Ford. I surround myself around people that are smarter and more efficient than I. See, my company has great partners. It's not just me.
Sure. Yeah.
They're gonna.
Yeah, you got a great
They're gonna
team.
get fund managers that are on CNBC most every week. They're gonna get health people and different teams, and that's what you have as well.
Yeah.
So that's good
Great
that
team.
you're teaching them to ask the questions, and it's not about It's not like a retail store. Don't you love when you walk into a store or a car lot and they go, "Hey, are you looking to buy today?" I mean, what kind of question is that? Actually, no, I had nothing to do, and I thought I'd walk into your store.
I'm here for the takeout food.
Here for the
Where's the
I heard you were giving a blender away if I came in and asked you enough questions. So I would never ask, something crazy like that. But it is a good question to say, have you done this before?
Sure.
And how close are you in the decision process?
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely.
There are some people that I meet that don't become clients till later, but they're really, really, really the minority. And the reason why is, this is interesting because you're a self-motivated guy and you understand that everything that we do, you and I, and we're in similar businesses, it's about communications. And it's about really connecting with somebody.
Sure.
That they know, oh my God, I found my guy. And when it comes to real estate, Alex is going to be there for me. Not only with this, but my friends and other people I know. And that's how it is, like when they meet me and my team. That's why I say it's about at least 90%. Because the other thing is, people procrastinate, and that's the first recipe for failure, when you cannot make a decision.
Sure.
For your own better self. And your market moves so quick. The deal you have today may be gone in a few weeks.
Yep.
Isn't that the truth?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, because
same
you have
with the buyer or
buyers.
the seller. Yeah.
Right. If they're hot enough.
Yep.
If they're hot enough. Residentials, I don't know if it works the same, but it looks like, I know on the partners that I have with the 1031s and the op zones, those deals are gone in a week a lot of times.
Yeah.
Because the caps are good, they're institutionally managed, and they eat up quick. And once the inventory's gone, it's gone.
Absolutely.
So, is inventory a problem now on the commercial side?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Really?
We have more buyers and more money in the market right now than inventory, than product.
So then, what
property.
do you do? Do you maybe
Well,
you buy up?
No, good question. So, and by the way, you ask better questions than anybody in the tax and financial space that I could think of. And the fact that you told me you're doing 1031 stuff in the opportunity zones. A lot of professionals, folks, don't even know what that means.
They don't.
You need to call Denny. He's a solid guy, knows what he's talking about. So, anyways, I didn't mean to get off track.
No.
On the inventory, what I do, I've been doing this so long that the off-market deals we're creating through relationships. So
Right.
it was someone that maybe 5 years ago I already had a relationship with, and he's like, Alex, I won't sell now, but when the time is right. Well, the time is right. I gave him a call. Hey, Mr. Smith, I'm working with a 1031 buyer. What are your thoughts on selling? Well, Alex, the typical question we get is, I don't know what it's worth. We do is we underwrite property. So we do a mini appraisal.
Okay.
We charge clients $500 for that if they're not listing a deal with us or they're not doing a deal with us.
Okay.
Just because time is money, and so if you're gonna extract our brain and we give you everything you need on that appraisal.
You don't do other states, do you?
No, just Florida.
Okay.
And like typically for that kind of building example, we'll charge $500. It's usually like $3,000 to get a regular appraisal done, a commercial one. So it's valuable for them, and they can use that for what they may want to do. But what I do is if the owner doesn't know the price, I'll say, well, listen, I'll underwrite it for you and get you a broker to opinion value report. It gives you exactly in black and white the strike price, and we're about 75 grand of a real strike price on the sales. That just doing it long enough in terms of what we market at, and then leaving room for negotiating, and then what that seller gets. So the accuracy is on point. And then if we're good there and the owner's like, hey, this number makes sense, it's, let's do it, then we go to work. If they're like, oh, we want this much more, then I go back to the drawing board to see if I can create that value in the form of increasing rents, etc. If it's not there, I leave the door open with the owner. Listen, I know you want $3 million, it's worth $2 million, and that's what I can get it done for you now. When you're ready, give me a call, no problem. But the inventory that we're lacking, I'll usually reach out to relationships I have over the 17 years to bring that to the table. And then the off-market stuff is through a larger network throughout Florida, just people that we've done business with, keep the word golden, nobody snaking each other, keeping things straightforward. That group becomes real tight. So someone I have on the West Coast or in Miami or up north, we know we've broken ice, so to speak. We know that we can trust each other.
But all those buyers are liquid. They're ready to go.
Oh, yeah.
As soon as they see the deals.
There's hundreds of $1 million coming to Florida.
The other
right
question is, those properties because people can look up commercial properties on LoopNet, right? Is that the site?
Yes.
Are they ready to go on LoopNet? I mean, are they officially listed or?
The deal, a lot of the private deals, you'll never see them.
You'll never see on LoopNet, no? Of course, because they don't want to list it. Correct, right?
Yeah, you've got like
so the LoopNets, they're under contract and they're listed. They're listed. There's a realtor waiting for someone to buy it.
Yeah, so LoopNet is like our version as commercial brokers for the MLS. Like in comparison, we don't use MLS in terms of commercial real estate.
Okay.
You know, it's been more successful to put a buyer in a commercial deal in the right space. Houses is for MLS, buildings for LoopNet. When you cross them over, it becomes confusing, and you have the wrong buyers trying to get the wrong deal. So yeah, the deals on LoopNet typically are listed. The deals we do are both on LoopNet, and then they're off market. If they're off market, it's straightforward from my desk to you if you're the one with the money. And then if you don't want that deal, we have another buyer that we'd show it to. So it's like a club. You know, we kind of break ice and know that you're solid, that you've already closed deals with us. There's no, you know, does he have funds to do a deal, etc. We then just give you first pick after doing business together.
Now, we started talking because my business has done very well the last 2 years. That's why I formed my own company, and I partnered up with CPAs because the taxation focus is a big focus of mine. That's why I teach people the optimal time to take Social Security, how to deal with all their accounts so they pay the least amount of taxes. But when I learned about the 1031s and the op zones, I went, oh my God, this has been around for about over 100 years, the 1031s. And few people really understand. So folks, it's on the commercial side, but any rental property, you could have homes that you're renting that you've owned, or a business that your parents have that, they started from scratch, but now they want to give it to their kids, and it's worth $10-15 million. But if they sell it, they're going to have to pay the taxes. So the 1031 allows them to defer it forever, and then their kids get a step up when they pass away. Now, of course, you're subject to estate tax issues because it still counts. But the simple fact is, I have someone now that I'm helping that his CPA, CPA likes me now because he didn't know. This is a CPA, folks. He sold this property, but because he sold it as a K1 and not a 1099, we were able to get more than the 6 months, and we're going to do an opportunity zone because you can file it the next, following year when he does his taxes, and then 6 months beyond that.
That's awesome.
Now, the difference is, the 1031 is real estate property, but an opportunity zone, it can be anything. You could have a collection of cars, a stock portfolio, something like that. I hear the beep. Does that mean the fries are done, Brian? I think we're going overtime, folks. But anyway, look, I've enjoyed your message. I hope people call you, and certainly you're doing phenomenal. A self-made man. How many people can say they started from scratch and their company's going to do $100 million in sales this year? This is going to be your best year, isn't it?
It is.
Feels good, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It's been a journey.
You're going to enjoy it for about 15 minutes?
That's it. And then back to the deals.
You're going to start maybe on a Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, Saturday, Sunday with the fam, then back to the grind.
Well, listen, when you have, I'll help you invest the excess capital. I know Tony.
Let's do it.
A lot of realtors do not understand how they need to pay themselves because they're making this money.
Yeah.
They can do a defined benefit plan. They can do a SEP IRA. Pay yourselves, folks. Or if you like to just pay the IRS, I'm okay with that too. But the choice is yours. The more you pay yourself, the less you pay the IRS.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, what is that Forrest Gump question, or, are you stupid or something? Would you like to pay more or less in taxes? Trick question. You have 5 seconds to answer, Jim. No, just being funny, folks. But it's a great market. I can't wait to see what this year finishes up and next year. And come back and talk again, man. And so,
absolutely. Thank you
folks,
for having me.
Alex Rodriguez is always a great guest. We're becoming friends with each other, and we're certainly co-mingling clients and referring people to each other. Yeah. So I hope you all having a great day. Try not to watch too much news. I didn't purposely talk about what's going on right now because I try and stay positive as much as I can, because I can't change what's going on right now.
Of course not. No.
All of you that are listening, it's February 24th.
Yeah,
And there's some turbulent things happening, and it's terrible. But we have to all wake up and try and do the best that we can every day.
Sure.
So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time on the Denny Artachi Show.